yourself real quick.
Petko Petrovic, president of Wasinko International.
Wonderful.
And I've been with the company for 2 years, or no, a year and a half technically. Is there anything else you want to know?
No, that's perfect. So we're doing this interview to understand a specific project that we're going to be emanating, known as Wasinko International. We're going to be breaking down the project management of a single project. What is the project of your choice you wanted to outline?
Do you want one that's already been completed, or you want one we're working on now? Do you care?
The smoothest.
Let's do.
Can we do 4475?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so like there is a lot of stuff that I am familiarized, but the nature of this discussion meeting is for other people to understand the mission and goal of what Wasinko International carries out. So to begin, let's start with our understanding. What problem is Wasinko proposing they will solve at Executive 4475 with their product?
The completion of a lab build out for a client and future tenant.
Okay. So you would say that your good or service would be the facilitation of implementing solutions for modern laboratory needs.
For research purposes, yes.
All right. What are some of your outlying objectives that you plan on enacting to be able to execute that kind of understanding? How are you going to solve the problem?
Preliminarily, or initially, it's to provide a quote for the product. When the quote is accepted, it's to manufacture the product to our specifications, and then to finally install it in the job site. So those three aspects of the project are critical to completing the project.
And so, how do you overcome competitiveness or the competition?
In general, it's by providing a superior product, a product that is unique or different from our competitor.
There we go.
We provide a modular system that is unlike any others in the field. And our modular system is also has structural qualities that make it superior to other vendors as well.
Staying on objectives, how do you go about approaching a specific project such as this when you form a budget?
The budget is based on the casework that's required, the labor required to install it, the delivery methods and means needed to get the product to the site, and the manpower required to do all the coordination. So we use all those factors to calculate what the project will cost us, and then we put a percentage on top of that for profit.
What is your overhead?
Percentage-wise,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know if we have an exact number, but I'll say our overhead's at least 10 to 12%.
And what do you normally do for profit?
On each project, we set a profit margin of 25 to 30%, so that leaves a profit of about 15 to 20%.
So if you're trying to be competitive, how much are you willing to reduce your profit?
0. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to reduce, but we've done it before, where to get the project, we've knocked our profit down. We will probably take it down by about 5% at maximum risk. We won't go more than that. At that point, it's not worth it.
Of course. Okay. So can you break down for me, before we go into scope, the submittal process that Wasinko does?
Sure. The submittal begins with a request for a quote or a bid.
Is that like an RFP?
Yes, an RFP, request for proposal, comes in from the general contractor, which has initially been initiated by the owner of the project. Working through the general contractor, we get the RFP, to which we are provided a set of floor plans, preliminary floor plans of the lab design. If we have no recommendations to revise the lab, we will quote based off of the architectural drawing. So we prepare a quote for the full scope of the project based off what I told you earlier for labor and delivery and so manpower and project delivery and product. After the quote has been accepted, we then provide shop drawings based off of the quote, which would give the general contractor a full description of the product that will be delivered to the site.
And from there, you get an MSA, correct?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to scope. Now let's get a little more particular. So with 4475, can you explain some highlights and inclusions and exclusions that you state within your revision of the MSA, especially with the GC and client?
So inclusions and exclusions are always part of the process. Every project has variables that impact our submittals, and at 4475, one example is we were not granted access to a freight elevator, so we had to include the cost of a lull system or a moving system to remove the casework from a truck to install it into the building. We had to use a lull to get it up to the second floor. So that was something that was excluded in the original submittal, but we had to include it after the fact when we found out that the freight elevator was not working.
And do you normally include that kind of machinery?
We do not normally include it.
Is there any other kind of exclusions or inclusions per this project?
Trying to think now. This was a typical install. We didn't do anything unique here.
Did you have to facilitate chalk lines?
We did, and we do normally. That's always included, although now we're going to change that where we're going to have our installers do it. We provided that as a service, but that is something that we will now start excluding. Well,
Makes the process cleaner, doesn't it?
yes, it does. Technically, hang on, this is interesting because the installer is our subcontractor, so we technically are still providing that service through our subcontractor. So I don't know that we're necessarily excluding it. I think it's still included in that aspect. It's just that it's not our people doing it, it's gonna be the installer's people, which makes more sense if you ask me. I don't know if we can count that as an exclusion. What I was gonna say was there is some casework that is normally excluded, or some elements of casework that is normally excluded, such as shelving, wall shelving. At 4475, we are including it now. We were asked by the owners to add wall shelving. So that is a product that is normally excluded from our quotes and submittals. In this case, we are going to be including it, so we're providing them with that product.
And also in the West Coast operations, you guys have also included things like seismic clips and seismic
Correct.
shelving, right?
As a
Rods?
standard, yeah, as a standard practice, there are clip systems that keep the casework from moving in case of an earthquake, as well as what we call seismic rods, which are brackets that are attached to shelves to keep stuff from falling off the shelves if there's ever seismic movement.
Now, including with the seismic clips and rods along with the wall shelving, is this kind of a beginning like release of including wall shelving? Is this new?
It is new in the sense that we have not done it before. Well, we have not been doing it in the past, but we also realize that in order to be competitive in the market, we need to start including it in our quotes because our competitors do it. So we've started including it on projects that normally have it. This is a part where it's tricky because you know that we have a client, a major client that we work with,
Correct.
who does not expect it, does not want it.
Mhm.
So we exclude it from their projects unless they specifically ask for it. Whereas our non-phase 3 clients that we reach out to bid for typically have been expecting it to be included. So we've started including it in our quotes.
Okay. And then I'm not really gonna ask, it's because it's kind of fairly new, whether or not that's integrated into your catalog.
It is not, right now it is not. We have created specifications and document drawings for it, but it is not part of our sales catalog just yet.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back actually, because that brought up a great point that I want to delineate for stakeholders and those who are listening. You said that there's a predominance of sales or relations with a singular client. Obviously, you kind of talked or explained how that bid process is. Now, how do you find other work?
Currently, our main source of additional work or new projects that are not from that particular client have been through points of contact from general contractors. Establishing relationships with other GCs that we've worked with in the past, as well as getting ourselves put onto bidders list with general contractors that we have not worked with.
That's great.
The bid process goes through general contractors. When they are awarded a project, they put out a request for proposal from bidders, and if we are on a bidders list, we can be included in those projects, and that's how we're getting our invites for RFPs.
And not only is quality trying to get you into those slots, but you are also proactively pursuing them?
Yes. Recently, we've also had a couple of companies that we've worked with that have changed management, and one of them is closing, so a lot of employees are going to work for other companies that have not worked with us in the past, and they are also putting our name into the bid process for new projects at their new companies. So reputation has carried through. Our quality of work and our work with the general contractors has stuck with the people that have moved on to other companies, and they've sort of carried us along with them.
Reference Boston?
Yeah, JM Cool is a company that we work with, and they're closing their doors this year. A lot of the people that work for them have moved on to other companies. One gentleman went to work for another company called Wise, and now we are putting bids in for Wise. We've done 3 bids so far.
Excellent.
So it's one of those things where the way we work with the GC has proven that they want to continue to work with us. So even though they've transferred to another company, they've asked us to work with them at the new company as well.
That's good
So,
news.
Good work ethic usually results in good relationships.
No doubt. Approach. Let's get a little nitty and gritty of operations. So let's talk about how you're going to logistically and how you do logistically carry out this project.
Every project that we submit proposals for and that have been awarded, we complete the shop drawings so that we can get confirmation from the owner and GC that that is in fact the final product that we will be providing. Once we know what the product is, the next step is to have what we call a kickoff meeting, where we have the project manager and whoever's involved with the project get together, including the warehouse staff, to plan out the process for the project to make sure all items are accounted for, nothing is missed in the planning phase, so that when the POs are placed, all the proper POs have been placed. And then the plan is to schedule when materials arrive to the warehouse so that we can accordingly plan for when stuff gets shipped to the site. So all of the coordination begins from the moment when the shop drawings have been approved so that we can place POs.
Now I know how difficult logistics is, but let's say you have is there a certain threshold in MTO that relates to a 53-foot trailer?
Well, yes. Again, the casework that is included in each project will dictate how many trailers will have to be shipped out. And for instance, in the kickoff meeting, the plan is to estimate how many trucks will have to go out. Even though we've already taken that into consideration during the quoting process, the planning needs to, 4475 is the project we're talking about, but we just recently did a kickoff for another project where we realized we're gonna have 13 trucks going out to a job site. So we have to plan within a 4-week period, we have 13 trucks going out to a job site. So all these materials that are coming in to be assembled and packaged need to be put into the trucks and then shipped out. So the coordination of 13 trucks in 4 weeks is gonna be
Tough.
very, very,
Very tough.
yes.
What project is that for?
Champs Plaza.
Wow.
Yeah.
13?
Yeah,
14?
yeah.
That's insane.
It's only a 4-story building, but the labs are split into 2 halves. The density is more than an island. It's
Now, what I hear from that is there's a lot of material and a little bit of time.
yeah.
Now, whose fault is that?
I wouldn't say it's anyone's fault. It's a coordination thing where the general contractor has expectations that even though there's a lot of material, they have the expectation that because it's a single floor that the floor has 2 labs sort of split, that they would be installed at the same
Don't you think
time.
it's a little naive?
I don't think so, because it's a simple lab. It's not. It's a clean space. The utilities are all accessible. The ceilings are high. They're all clean islands. There's no custom work, so it's just a matter of getting it there, lining it up, and then connecting it. So it should be easy. And the building is accessible, it has freight elevator, so there's not gonna be any complications in getting the materials into the building. So I think it's okay, I think it's doable.
I think that from an approach of, like, when you think it's doable, like, are you allowing yourself enough buffer for risk internally so that you can execute the project efficiently?
We are, so long as there's no changes or complications that impact our install. We have a crew that can do this installation. One floor can be installed in a week, week and a half. We plan on doing simultaneously floors. As one's getting close to being finished, the next one's gonna get started. So while one crew is installing, another crew is unloading, so we're gonna have multiple things happening. But again, we've been notified enough in advance that we can prepare for it. Ultimately, it comes down to our planning to make sure we have enough staff on hand to install the project. In the past, we've worked where we would have a floor being installed by 2 or 3 guys. Now we're at the point where we're looking at 4 or 5 guys minimum. With 4 or 5 guys, we can work much faster. So that's sort of been the standard now with installations on the larger projects, is to have a larger team for install versus having 2 or 3 guys. Interestingly enough, in the past, we've had our installers promise us 4 or 5 guys, but they only send 2 or 3 guys. That no longer will be acceptable, and basically at this point, when it's a commitment of 4 people or 5 people per day, we will have 4 people or 5 people per day. And it needs to happen so that we can finish on time. So that's where the relationship with us and the installers is critical, that the communication is there. And
No doubt.
that's also one of the main reasons why the ownership of this company has worked to provide all that to be in-house. So
Right.
our installers are no longer subcontractors that we hire from outside, but it's from the family of companies that we work with. So we have the ability to have better communication with them in planning,
Right.
which
No
you know
doubt.
all about.
So just to bring our listeners back a little bit, we're talking about Executive 4475. Logistically, how many trucks is that?
4475, we actually, Josh, are you here?
Yeah.
How many trucks have we sent out to 4475 altogether, do you know?
I'm looking once.
I think it's one.
That plus anticipated.
I think it's, was it 4?
It is. Should be 3.
The first one went out, that was stored on site.
You're right. Yeah, so it's 4.
It's 4.
And with an average cost of?
4,800.
4,800.
All
I was
right.
gonna say between 45 and 55, because it fluctuates.
So your procurement processes. So let's say you get awarded a bid on a project, they like your product, you have the correct MTO, you estimate it accurately, again, you got awarded it. What are the lead times for each of your vendors?
Those are always unfortunately changing. In general, our lead times are anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks within all of our vendor range. We have recently made some changes to not work with certain vendors because their lead times became too long. Right now, our biggest lead time is our fume hood vendor, who is 6 to 8 weeks. Countertops are 2 to 4 weeks. Our pegboards are 2 to 4 weeks. Our steel fabricator is 4 to 6 weeks. A water saver, a water fixture is also, they say 2 to 4, but we say 4 to 6. So that window of,
Buffer.
yeah, 4 to 6 weeks realistically.
We got it.
Yeah. And what you may not know, this is not for you guys, one of our vendors that we used to work with, Mono Systems, for the electrical raceways,
Right.
their lead times got up to 18 weeks,
Mhm.
which impacted our delivery times, which we always had as, in the perfect world, it was 10 to 12, but we went up to 12 to 14. In order to have that, we could not say that because we had a vendor at 18 weeks. We actually stopped working with Mono Systems and started fabricating our own electrical raceways. So our steel fabricator provides us with the cases, and LTS assembles them and provides electrical. And now our lead times on those guys are basically three to 4 weeks. At a,
Incredible.
I think a 40% cost savings.
Love it.
And they're white with white cords
They look
and
better.
white outlets. Oh my God. I
Is
just
that over there?
Yeah, that's the one with the e-power, so it's got the red, but 4475. That's gonna be the offices for phase 3, so they're gonna actually have that lab to use it as a showroom for when they bring people in. So we've got them installed there, and we just saw the photographs of them installed. They look amazing. Having the white cords, they don't stand out anymore.
They're low key.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. So what is the projected entirety of time? Like I'm saying from all the way from the approved, like from the estimating phase, all the way to the final punch list. How long is 4475?
That's difficult to say only because I can tell you for 4475 exactly, but in general, the estimating phase is a unknown factor. We have projects that we've estimated in 2 to 4 weeks, and we've had projects like 12 Farms, which we've had the estimation go to 1 year.
Let's go from awarded to punch list.
From awarded to punch list,
Without any GC slack, I'm just saying on Wysinco's operations.
I'll say 3 to 4 months in fabrication and installation, another 4 weeks. So I would put it at, on average, it should be 4 to 5 months.
Perfect. I have it listed as 4.
Okay. The reason I say 4 to 5, that 5 is that last phase when you finally finish in the punch list process. There might be just a little bit of extra time there, but yeah, in general, 4 weeks would be the ideal. But it depends. Again, 4475 should be hitting that mark because it's small enough. The bigger projects take longer, like Genesis Station, which is a 9-story building.
Okay. So now, do you have insight into the duration of the schedule of values from the general contractor's perspective?
I don't know if I can really answer that.
Don't have to.
Accurately, that is.
Don't have to.
I would be guessing.
And that's going to be JB.
For these guys, it's JB Pacific.
What are critical pathways of all these things?
Just so we're clear, when you're talking about that, are you talking about the financial aspect of it, so for final payment, or are you talking about something else? For us,
So we're still on approach.
Okay.
So this is still kind of like operate. We'll get there with timing and fees.
All right.
So yeah. So it's the dependent critical pathways. Bullet point like 7 to 8 things that must get done so that everything else, because everything else is kind of minutia compared to these points.
The number one, first most critical thing is that the quote that is prepared, nothing is missed. Every piece of casework that is expected is included, because when the quote is awarded, if we come back and say, oh, well, we didn't include that, they have the expectation that it was. So number one, nothing can be missed in the quote. Number two, when the POs are placed, they have to be accurate. Nothing can be missed. Because of the long lead time for manufacturers, when POs are placed, they have to be done accurately. I'd say the third most important thing is constant communication with vendors for delivery of our product is critical. And then 4 is probably delivery of materials. It has to happen expeditiously. Once we ship out from the warehouse and they arrive to the site, it needs to be done accurately and expeditiously with 0 error.
That's so hard.
No lost trucks, you know.
No truck left behind.
No truck stuck in Wyoming. And then I would say during the installation process,
Work orders each man.
there's a lot of factors in the installation process, but I think probably the most critical one is that everything is installed sequentially to allow for the smooth installation of all the products. And then during that time, I would say also important is protection of our product from other vendors, from other subcontractors. Those 7 things probably are the most critical to make sure that the product is installed and finished and done properly. Because every one of those has a major effect. The last one, if it's not installed properly in sequence, it's going to delay the installation, which means it delays our invoicing for completion. If we don't protect it from other subcontractors, damage it can happen, which forces us to replace parts, which takes longer time, which then again delays the completion and handover of the project. So yeah, those are probably the 6 or 7 things that are the most important, I think.
Which is excellent.
And one more thing, billing on time.
Huge, right? It's like
That is the most important one. General contractors allow us to bill once a month.
Mhm.
If you do not bill on time, knowing that the payment schedule is plus 45 days, or
Right.
in JB Pacific's case, 60.
Mhm.
If we miss an invoice, we have to
Two
wait, you're behind 4 weeks, that means 2 months later, you're not getting paid for what you expected, but you're gonna get paid a month late. So that has a huge impact.
No
Huge.
doubt. AR and AP, constant battle.
Yep.
You brought up a great You brought up a great point in regards to making sure once your product is installed, making sure that other schedule of values don't really mess with it, so that you can not only retain quality of product, but also maintain the right to your payment.
Right.
So, how do you, as a company, make sure that that risk factor is evaded?
There's 2 things we're doing. There might be more that we can come up with, but for now we have 2 plans implemented. One is we actually have a document. We have a sort of a letter that we ask the general contractor to sign, which puts the onus on him to make sure that he's aware of our product and that he is also protecting it when we're not on site. So
What is this document?
it's the
You don't have to get it right now.
I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember right now. It's
So
letter of acknowledgement, that once we deliver to the site, they are also responsible for protecting it from other subs. And then the other thing we do is we have our field technician, our on-site managers have protective products and materials that they place over them. Cardboard, paper, foam, anything we can to cover our casework until final release. So those are the 2 things we do now to try and protect it. Because in every construction site, a horizontal surface becomes a work surface for everyone.
I know.
So we have drywall contractors cutting drywall on our tables. We have electricians climbing on our tables to work above the ceiling. We have mechanical contractors putting metal ducts on our tables, which could potentially scratch. Toolboxes get set on them and dragged and moved around. So all these things have to be prevented.
So, which just made me think of another thing that I wanted to ask you about approach is, whose responsibility is it for tie-ins with the MEP?
The tie-ins are basically very minimal tie-ins happen. The mechanical contractors only tie in with our fume hoods, so they make the final connection there. Vacuum, compressed air, plumbing, all of them are quick disconnect connections, so our installers make the connection, but we provide the equipment that is required for the plumbing contractor to attach it to his piping. So we provide that ahead of time, and they are responsible for the preliminary connection, and then we make the final connection. Our quick disconnect, or QD system, is again part of the modularity and flexibility of the Wasinko line, allows our installers to just plug it in at the end.
Thanks for making time for me.
Not a problem.
All right, deliverables. In-depth. I asked for in-depth concept of the billing of materials included in like an MTO, good or service. So one of the things that is going to really help me and my team is that if you so require, we can sign an NDA, but we would like to have supporting documentation for like kind of a couple things, if you don't mind.
Because it's you, I don't mind, but we will have you do the NDA with you and your team.
No doubt.
So
no doubt. And I can also, and like everyone's on the same page. We can take all the numbers and change them. Just so it's
I
not
don't, no,
legitimate.
I mean, to be honest with you, for your purposes, you don't have to do that. It doesn't bother me that you know the numbers. I don't know that it matters. It's just that I don't want the numbers to get out to the public, you know. We don't need contractors in phase 3 and other people knowing our numbers. That's all in-house stuff. So if you do the NDA, that's fine.
Okay.
We can give you that.
Cool.
So if you want, you can work with Ryan on that. He can probably give you everything you need.
Perfect. Because like honestly, like I was gonna ask for Executive 4475's MSA.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask for like an example of a payment of application, a subcontractor agreement,
Okay.
like OEM and warranties,
Okay.
liens waiver,
Okay.
and then also like your estimate budget, like the bid that you put in.
Sure.
And then also like to see the MTO.
Right.
So and once we have all that, I can fill in all this shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sorry, I mean.
He apologized.
All right. So deliverables, I'll figure it out with Ryan. Project team. So I am going to ask a couple of these. So for 4475, who are the stakeholders?
All right. It's funny because we're a fairly small company, so everyone kind of has multiple hats, right? We all wear different hats. So the stakeholders, as in who are the players?
Mm-hmm.
Phase 3 is the client. JD Pacific is the general contractor. FH Stoll is our subcontractor, that is our installer. And do you want to?
Who was the PM? Josh, right?
Josh is the PM. Josh.
And Alex
Kuzi.
is the.
And Alex Peterson is the on-site representative, the installation manager. Overseeing the whole project as a operations VP of operations is Peter Hayter.
Mhm.
So he's kind of like the supervisor overseeing everything to make sure everything goes. The warehouse manager is Lawrence Murphy, who handled all the assembly and shipping. And Ryan Lazarski handled all the quoting and PO placements. Josh, did you do the POs for 4475 or was it Ryan?
That would be my.
That was Ryan, okay. We are slowly bringing the POs over to the PMs. So the POs to the PMs. The PMs will be handling POs in the future. And then Billy Petrovich handled the invoicing, along with Ryan. Ryan did it through the GC program, which is GC Pay, but Billy also did the invoicing with him on that.
Okay, who's the scheduler? Joe? Ergolastolo?
No, actually, I mean, he's the coordinator between the subcontractor and us, our installer, but the scheduling was kind of, essentially, the overall schedule was given to us by JV Pacific of when we had to install. And then the coordination schedule on our end, I'm gonna put it under Peter. Peter kind of came up with the schedule.
Cool. Now estimator. Ryan?
Ryan.
And let's see here. So who is responsible for quality?
There's quality control at 2 points. I won't include the preliminary phase when we're doing the drawings and the quotes because that's just on paper. 2 points of quality control, and that is when the products arrive to us at the warehouse.
No doubt.
So Lawrence Murphy is the first set of eyes. He's the first line of quality control by inspecting the products when they arrive from our vendors. And then Alex Peterson is the second level of quality control, who is our installation manager who verifies that the installation has been done properly.
Then let me ask a question this. I'm gonna ask real quick. So there's an RFP, you guys submit a bid, and then it's approved, you get an MSA. Is there any kind of quality control with revisions back and forth between architectural drawings?
The quality control happens in the that's where I said it's not really quality control. It's a matter of when they give us the MSA, we provide the shop drawings based off of the architectural drawings, and we submit them for review. And that's where we go back and forth with the architect. If we miss something, didn't see something the same as they did, or they wanted to add something, so in the shop drawing submittal phase, there's a review process. But I wouldn't say it's really quality control. It's just a matter. I guess it's quality control from the architect side. They're making sure that we are going to provide everything that they're expecting.
I think there is a lot of liability held amongst the general contractor in regard to the review process for the architectural drawings. And then but the one thing that I have noticed when I did work for Wisynco though is For whatever reason, the architect would make some revisions to the architectural drawings,
Mhm.
and we wouldn't be administered that,
Mhm.
and then they would administer that down the line to the
Mhm.
foremans and the superintendents,
Correct.
and then we would have our drawings and give it to the foremans or the superintendents
And
for our
it didn't match,
subcontractor,
yeah.
and they didn't match.
Correct.
And then so that, how do we avoid that?
So that has recently been, it's pretty much been me. Since I work on the shop drawings, I have been the one that has been following all the change orders. And any change order that impacts our work has been on me to update our drawings or update our team. Me and Ryan have pretty much been the ones that have been sort of keeping track of any changes that happen.
It's good. Who's responsible for budget analysis? Is that you?
We have kind of put that into, Peter was doing it for a while, but that's in Ryan's ball now, or all ball, in Ryan's court now. Ryan is doing it. Ryan and Billy are doing that.
And what does that even consist of?
Basically taking what the quote was, what the money spent was on materials and on labor, and what the final payment amount was, and doing an analysis on the project viability.
Who is responsible for drawings? That's you?
Yeah.
When are you gonna hire someone else to do that? Off the record.
No, the reality is we should have someone doing that for us, but I, as an architect, don't want to relinquish that power because it's the one thing I have that makes me still feel like an architect to do drawings. So and so far we have not been overwhelmed with the amount of shop drawings required, so I can manage it. But when we do need help, I have someone from the BAE team that can help out. Kusha has been asked to do some stuff for us in the past. If I'm traveling or if I'm not available, we have someone from BAE that we hire on a per project basis to do stuff for us. But eventually we will have someone that does all our shop drawings. I'll have to give it up.
I mean, you can always do your own section.
Don't have time for it.
Oh.
That was off when I took the position at this firm. I was told that that is an acceptable thing to do because it would let me fulfill my design bug, but I just don't have time. And right now, to be honest with you, I love this more than anything, so I have no desire to do anything else.
Cool. Documentation administration. So who is responsible for the collection of NDAs, MSAs, payment of applications, all the subcontractor agreements, O&Ms, warranties, lien waivers?
I will say in general, it's the PM. There's a lot of documents that come in on the sort of financial side that the PMs don't really have access to, so that's where me and Ryan will collect that, but I will still say in general, the PMs collect it. So it's not 100% one person.
Hey, Estes just told me, set a trucker tomorrow if you want to do a lot of it.
Okay, and I pretty much know the timing of all those documents when they're pertinent. Don't really need to go over that. Associated with the project fees. So who is in charge of basically attenuating the insurance or COI requirements?
Ryan.
And is Ryan also in charge of overhead and profit attenuation?
Yeah.
And what about building rent?
Building rent, Billy.
Could we do tomorrow?
And then general conditions and workman's comp and general liability?
I'll say Ryan and Billy together.
Okay, yeah. Yes.
Any permits needed specifically for this job?
No, there was a discussion of possibly having to get a permit because our truck, there was not a loading dock, so our truck had to stop on the street to unload. And JB Pacific originally said we might need to get a permit because one, to stop on the street, and two, to use the sidewalk. But instead we were able to work with a traffic controller and we used the lull, so we were able to go over the sidewalk, so we did not have to get a sidewalk permit.
Who's in charge of reviewing taxes? Lilia?
Lilia does our taxes for us, and she does the final assessments and payments and everything, but it's a combination of Ryan and Lilia. But Lilia is the main one for taxes.
Now, what about performance bonds and bid bonds?
Our insurance people handle that, so I'd say, since Ryan works with me, I'll say Ryan.
Cool. And I'm gonna work with Ryan to get all of that documentation, have my team sign an NDA, give it back.
All right.
Terms and conditions. Besides what you said about Spence or Alex and Josh, or Lawrence and Alex as the 2 points of quality that Wisconsin International provides,
Yeah.
what other terms and conditions do you provide to uphold your service?
I don't know how to answer that. What do you mean by terms and conditions? To our vendors, or to our the GC, or to the client?
All.
Okay, so to the GC and therefore the owner, our terms and conditions is that the expectations from the quote process have to be fulfilled. So if we expect that there's a loading dock or a freight elevator, we expect to be able to use it. So we expect, and then if they don't, we will then charge them extra for it. We'll charge them a change order. So those are the expectations we have, that they, what is quoted or expected in the quote, that they follow through on that. From our vendors, the terms and conditions of the quality and delivery of materials. When we place POs, they give us lead times. We expect them to deliver within those lead
And
times.
if they don't?
If they don't, we either ask for withholding, or I should say withholding, we ask for discounts or reductions in price or credits back, because there's always an impact, there's a cost impact. And that happens a lot with our logistics companies, the shippers. When they fail to deliver on time, there's a cost impact on our labor end, so we then turn around and invoice them for that. They don't like that, but we're fighting them on it. So
How
we'll see.
long does that turnaround take? Good
Depends.
question,
It depends, right? Right now, I'll say it takes months. The problem is when people do stuff, they expect to be paid, and they don't want to have to give away anything. Perfect example is when a trucking company is hired to deliver a trailer to California. They schedule a delivery for Monday morning. We schedule our laborers to be there to unload the truck on Monday morning. The truck doesn't show up until Tuesday. We have to pay those laborers for being there, then we have to pay them to bring them back on Tuesday. So we've lost money because we have lost money to our laborers, and we've also lost a day on installation. So that cost has a direct impact on our operations. We then turn around and go back to the trucking company and say, this is a loss for us. This needs to be credited back towards our, either taken away from our fee or credited on the next order we place with you. So Billy's been really good about communicating with Echo on that. Right now we have 5 shipments that were problematic that we're working on them. When we've had damaged products, they have gone through their insurance and credited us back quickly. When it's a labor billing issue, they're very slow to respond because the logistics company passes it off onto the trucking company. And then it goes through an entire cycle of the insurance companies as well as their legal, and that takes
Time.
a lot of time.
How many brokers are involved now?
Right now we have 3 that we work with.
They are Echo.
Echo, Sparta, and Estes. The way we see it, we have 3 of them because Estes is the cheapest for us and most cost effective, but they require the most advanced knowledge for scheduling. So if we know we can schedule them a week in advance, we can use them. If we have to go last minute, we have either Sparta or Echo. Sparta is more expensive than Echo, but they are more dependable. They show up on time, they deliver on time. They don't open the trucks, they don't break the seals, but they're more expensive. Echo is middle price range, but they're the least reliable, but they are also the
Most
they're
flexible?
Most flexible, and they also we have a line of credit with them, which gives us flexibility there as well. So they have the most flexibility. So that's why we have all 3 at the moment. Again, trying to arrange to cover us for any scenario.
Awesome. All right. Do you think if I want real numbers, I go to Ryan?
For
Like-
logistics?
Just everything.
Yeah, you could do that. He has access to all of that.
Okay.
I know Billy has the logistics stuff too, and the PMs, because they handle that, they have it, but you, Billy or Ryan for that, but since you know Ryan, you can, it'll be easiest with Ryan.
Who the hell is that guy? All right, I'm going to conclude this. Thank you, Petco.
You're very welcome. Good luck, everybody.